So let's get started by creating a new event stream item. All I have to do is give it a name, and I'm immediately transported to the authoring experience. So let's start by configuring our source. We're going to use Azure Event Hub as the source, and that's going to stream all of our tollbooth data. And as soon as I configure this, I can get an instant preview of the data that's streaming.
It's always live.
Always live, that's right. Okay, so for my destination, I'm going to connect to an existing lakehouse in Fabric, and this is going to, again, stream my raw data into a Delta table in OneLake. I'm also going to create a second table. In this case, I actually want to get in some aggregated metrics. And here I can navigate over to the event processor UI, and I can actually have a low-code authoring experience over here for doing some transformations. For example, doing a count of vehicles across a tumbling window. Okay,
and
so
this is going to be stored in the same lakehouse?
It is. It is going to be stored in the same lakehouse. So there we go. We can see our newly created Delta tables in the lakehouse. And now all of the Fabric engines can just make use of this data. So let's start with maybe enriching our data with a forecast. We're going to use Spark for that. And I can very easily, just from this lakehouse experience, create a new notebook. I'm instantly navigated, and I can just drag and drop my table directly into the notebook experience. I get a code snippet, I can run it, and things just start to run instantly. Thanks to statistics. And there we go. We've built our forecasting model.
That was so fast.
Very, very, very quick, yes. So we have some exploratory analysis that we're doing over here. We're going to do some time series decomposition, get the data ready for modeling. I'm going to go ahead and actually now train my machine learning model using a popular ML library. And all of this data is going to land back enriched into OneLake. And I can even build a Power BI report on top of this data and visualize it directly inside the notebook.
So Power BI directly inside the notebook.
Yeah, so we can see our newly enriched table. But it's not just Spark that can work on top of the data in OneLake. We actually have a full-blown enterprise data warehouse experience as well. And all I have to do is just navigate over to the SQL endpoint. By the way, this is fully built into the lakehouse. I didn't have to do anything to configure it. And running this, just doing a count on our table, we can see we already have 14 million events. It's just increasing in real time.
So it's always live.
Always live. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do something else. Now let's actually try and query that table we just created using Spark. So there you go. We can see SQL is just able to seamlessly work on top of that same data that was just written in by Spark directly on top of the same lakehouse. Okay, but now we have real-time data, right? So maybe we want to do some real-time alerting as well. So a great tool for that is Data Activator, which lets us detect changes in our data. And over here, you can see in the Data Activator UI, we've already connected to our data in OneLake. We can see it's streaming in across all of the different toll booths. And what I want to do is I actually want to set up an alert whenever we see a spike in the count of vehicles across any of the toll booths. So let's go ahead and maybe set something up like whenever we see more than 50 cars. 50 sounds good. And what's cool here is I can actually see in real time how many times this event would have been triggered in the past historical data. Now this is still looking a little bit busy, I think, right? So let's actually up this up to something.
60.
Okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and actually set up our action now. We're going to send ourselves a team message whenever we see this high vehicle count. And what's cool is directly from the UI, I can just test this out. So let's go ahead and jump into Teams. We can see we have a message waiting for us from Data Activator, letting us know that there was a spike in, it looks like toll booth 2 in terms of the vehicle count. So there you have it. You can see how easily you can work with one copy of data, not just with your batch data, but even your real-time event streams. So with one copy of data, whether you're working in something like Spark, whether you're using data warehousing with SQL, Power BI, real-time with Data Activator, having that one copy just makes this project, the end-to-end data project, so simple. Yeah. To look at a company called Contoso Outdoors, very important company. They manage their data across many different disparate data systems, right? So we've got data in Snowflakes, just our customer loyalty data. We've got some data in Databricks, our sales data. We manage our customer support tickets in Dataverse, Cosmos DB for retail order processing, and finally Amazon S3 for our product portfolio. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and jump back into Fabric, and we're going to create a new lakehouse that's going to access all of these different data sources in a unified way. And we're going to start with Databricks. So to get access to our Databricks data, we're going to go ahead and create a new shortcut. And since the data is already in Delta Lake format, this is super simple. I'm just going to go ahead and configure my shortcut over here, and I can instantly get access to the data to all the tables directly in my lakehouse with no data movement. Our Dataverse data, as well as our Amazon S3 data, and all of this data is now available in the lakehouse, not just tables, but also our unstructured files. For example, our images from our product catalog, as well as our customer support documentation.
Because it's a data lake, it can hold any kind of file.
Exactly. So now Fabric can build solutions on top of it, but also other services. For example, Azure AI Studio that will work on top of OneLake. Okay, so now let's go ahead and connect to our data in Snowflake and Cosmos DB. And for this, we're going to use the awesome new mirroring capabilities. So with DB mirroring, all I have to do is basically create a mirror database, and then this data is going to be instantly reflected out of Snowflake into Fabric in the Delta Lake format in OneLake. And Fabric is going to go ahead and keep all of this data in sync with no ETL. Now here, we're going to do the same thing with Cosmos DB. So again, we're going to reflect all the Cosmos DB data into OneLake in the Delta format. And now, if we jump back into our lakehouse, we can see all of the data is now accessible to us in a matter of minutes, right? And now I can start using all of the different Fabric experiences on top of it. So let's actually go over and navigate to our SQL endpoint. We're going to write a query, and in the single query, we're going to join across all 5 of these different sources across clouds. A more interesting view over here. So here we can see our lakehouse, and we can see it's accessing data from Databricks, Amazon S3, Dataverse, Snowflake, Cosmos DB, and we can see all of the downstream artifacts that are being created as well. So over here, for example, we're creating a notebook and an experiment that's going to do inventory forecasting for us. And we also have some BI. We're building a Power BI report, and why don't we actually jump into this Power BI report and take a look? So here we go. We have our customer loyalty program, a report over here, and this is working in direct lake mode, right? So no data was copied. Power BI is working on top of the data lake, which is blazing fast speeds as I'm slicing it. It's like sensitivity labels are just automatically propagated through all of the different artifacts. But let's actually go ahead and navigate over to the built-in Purview Hub to get an even more comprehensive view of our data assets. So here you go. You can see our sensitivity labels. You can see endorsements. You can see all of your usage metrics across all of your data assets, just making it super simple to just manage your end-to-end data estate.